Episode 77 of Mastering Local Marketing Podcast, Best Conversion Rates in Digital Marketing. Many small businesses pour endless hours into posting on social media, but is that what drives sales? In this episode, we cut through the noise and reveal what converts. We'll break down 7 core digital marketing tactics, from paid search to influence to SEO, and uncover the average conversion rates you can expect from each. And you'll learn which channels are most likely to ring the cash register, where a small businesses often waste time in chasing vanity metrics, and how to prioritize the strategies that give you the best return on investment. If you've ever wondered whether your marketing energy is going to the right place, this episode will give you the clarity you need to focus on what works. Matt Hansen, thanks.
I am back again with my raspy voice just to try and make it through another one.
This is episode 77. We had a little trouble on episode 76. In that Matt was for 5 hours talking at the Rally Innovate conference in Indianapolis yesterday. We're recording in late September of 2025. You may be listening 2 years on down the line, but hopefully Rally Innovate is still the center of entrepreneurialism in the Midwest. Had some huge names from all the big tech companies, all had representatives there, and they had little conference sessions and so forth. But evidently, people want to hear what Matt Hansen has to say. So how could you talk for 5 hours? I thought you would just be listening.
I try and listen, but the problem is people keep asking questions. So of course I gotta chime in.
All right, let's talk about where you should be spending your money. I know, if you folks know, if you've listened to past episodes, Hansen is always questioning spending a bunch of money to make social posts, and that's kind of been a recurring theme with you.
Yeah. So okay. So let me pull it back, and it kind of goes back to conversations I was having yesterday. Is when you talk to a small business, the first thing you will hear consistently is, "What are you doing for marketing?" And they'll say, "Well, we're posting on social." Okay, that's great. How's that working? Well, we're pretty consistent. Okay, how's that going for you? Well, we can't really trace it back. And okay, how's that going for you? And you just keep asking the question, like you're putting all this time and effort and all this stuff into it. It's fine. You enjoy it. It's building your brand, whatever. But what we're talking about today is conversion rates and like actually converting to sales, right? So I was like, okay, well, let's bring this to fruition. A couple of years ago, I had Neil Patel, who was he did a keynote in the digital marketing competition.
Digital marketing competition, or known as DMC, is done right here in these studios on the campus of Purdue Northwest. And it is, if not the largest digital marketing competition amongst colleges, it's right up there. And you got to send your submission in. They pick a company, and I'm just explaining it, and you could do a better job. But that's what it is. It's called the DMC. So yeah. You had Neil Patel talk, and that was an outstanding moment in that history of the DMC.
I mean, Neil's a great guy. And, in the conversation, he was kind of telling us all these trends and everything. And I saw he had posted recently, he's got his NP Digital, which is his agency and all this other stuff, and they've got some really great content. So please go check him out. But Neil had posted an infographic basically highlighting, best conversion rates. And we're not going to get into all of them today, but I thought it was interesting. I'm like, finally, we have a visual of this, and I'm going to bring this to fruition today, and that's kind of what we want to talk about. And again, you always hear own social, I do Instagram or I do TikTok or whatever. You hear SEO, and then we also do a little bit of paid social, right? So Facebook ads or Instagram ads or whatever it may be. And I was kind of laughing as I'm looking through this chart because I understand it, but I can only say so much and people will listen. But this chart clearly outlines conversion rates because, a lot of people will put all this time and effort into social and SEO and all this other stuff, and it's great. You should. But when we're looking at it from a conversion rate side of, am I selling something? There are certain winners, and we have to talk about that today. And we're going to go through each and every one that I felt like we've covered on the podcast and that we need to talk about. And really for you to understand like what works and what doesn't. And one of them we talked about yesterday at Rally with a client was influencers.
So let me go through the CR, the conversion rate. That's going to be how we're going to refer to it. The conversion rates and their percentages. And I think this is pretty consistent with what Neil Patel has talked about across on his own podcast and so forth. So look at the lowest conversion rate at 0.1%. And I'll just read them and then we'll contact. The lowest one is organic social at 0.1%, podcasting at 0.2%, influencers at 0.4%, SEO at 0.4%, paid social at 1.5%, which is surprising to me, and we'll talk about that. Paid search, not surprising, 2.6%. And the winner of all of the CRs is email at 3.7%. So I want you guys to look at, on the very lowest end of conversion rates is organic social, where many of you spend your money. And then the highest conversion rate is on email, which we're building
where most
as
people run away from.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we're only reason we're spending so much time and money putting these email newsletters together is that I do this podcast. My marketing guys I'm like, hey, listen, stop what we're doing for a little while. We need to get a regular email newsletter on Monday morning. And that's what they're working on. And part of it is I've seen this chart. The conversion rates of organic social at 0.1%.
Yeah.
We've talked about that at length. Is there any other comment you want to make on it?
Yeah. Again, yes, I get it. You're posting content on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, all these other things. But if you're trying to sell something, convert somebody to a customer, whatever it may be, buy something, it's not there, right? It's just not there. So
do you guys get that?
If you're
how
branding,
important that is? How many of these small businesses hired a social media manager for their office or hired a social media company, and it's 0.1%?
And you know what the funny part about it is? When we look at this list, you know what people hire me for? None of those, right? They don't hire me for organic social. They don't hire me to help them build a podcast. They don't hire me for SEO. What they hire me is for paid social. They hire me for paid search and email. And it's funny because what I do is I look at them like, I'm not wasting your money there. Because I know what you're trying to do, right? Because you've said, I need to sell more. Had this conversation yesterday. I'm sitting there having coffee, and we were talking about different things and how sales for this one person wasn't where they wanted them to be. I said, how's your email list? She's like, oh, it's well over 10,000. Like, solid, right? You got a good start there. I said, do you love email? And she's like, I absolutely love email. I'm like, it's great, isn't it? You just send an email out, and like all of a sudden it stimulates all kinds of buying and everything. She's like, it's great. Like, nothing's happening. All right, let me go send an email. And next thing you know, we're busy again. And you hear that over and over and over again. And I was talking to her about how I used to have a client that had 28,000 emails, and that was their only marketing channel they would send any kind of information out on. And they both, it was a husband and wife. They had this great house. I think the brother-in-law worked for him as well. Like, that's the only thing they did was send email out, and they sold tons and tons of products. So if you are trying to convert, pay attention here. If you're just trying to build a brand, then yeah, you should be everywhere. But, my philosophy on this is if you're trying to convert, so for example, with you guys with your sports network, it really comes down to, are you trying to build an audience? Are you trying to sell ad dollars? Who's the audience, right? Like, who are you going after? And understanding what their needs are. So, you could, in theory, from a sports network, you could have the individual schools as an email list. You could have the individual students' parents, fans as an email, and then you could have your advertisers as an email. And those are three different messages, right? And when we look at that from an advertising standpoint, I want to know that stuff is converting. From a fan standpoint, I just want to see my numbers going up. That's your conversion rate right there, where more people are watching. And then from a school perspective, what is important to them to make sure that they're staying on contract, or maybe you're trying to get them on contract, right? So there's all these different things to look at. But again, going back to asking yourself before you ever go out there and pick a technology that you're going to go on, it's who are the people, what's the objective, what's my strategy, and then pick the tech. And what everybody picks over and over and over again is they just go, we're going to go out there and do a bunch of social stuff, and hopefully that somebody's going to find us and buy from us and all this other stuff. And I'm going to tell you right now, the numbers are sitting here right in front of us, and I've seen this as well.
What do you say to somebody who comes to you and says, I want to organic social and build up my Facebook followers and do some TikTok videos and Instagrams, and I think isn't that the best way to go? What do you say to them?
I say it may be for you. I said, but I'm not the person that's going to help you with that. Again, there's value there, but there's a couple different ways to look at this, right? So social is a very passive audience, right? Like nobody goes on Instagram to go, I'm going to go click an ad today and buy something for $40, right? Nobody says that. So it's a very passive audience. When you go to Google or Bing or Yahoo or any of these, right? Like, and you search something, that's what we call an active audience. They are actively searching for something. So they're more inclined to buy when they see something that solves the problem that they are searching for. Whereas you go on Instagram and you're flipping through and you see an ad and you click it and you're like, oh, okay, that's cool, right? Like I'm not necessarily in the mindset that I'm going to buy, but it does convert, right? But then think about if I'm just scrolling and I'm seeing this stuff from brands and they're saying hello from their pretty new retail location, I'm not buying anything from that, right? So got to think about the customer, the mindset that they're in. Is this a buying environment? And typically with organic social it's not a buying environment. It's just content to stay in front of them, and that's perfectly fine because we're not talking about staying in front of people today. We're not talking about awareness. We're talking about conversion.
So we're just talking about conversion, and there's so many different levels here. So we'll do the podcasting in its own episode, and what can you use a podcast for? Maybe we'll even bring Adriana on to show what she's building here. But you had a lot of questions from people about influencers. Mm-hmm. Explain how the small to medium sized business can use influencers, and then your general attitude toward using them.
So again, we talk about the funnel a lot: awareness, consideration, and becoming a customer. So
awareness on the top of the funnel, consideration in the middle of the funnel, close on the bottom of the funnel.
So what we're saying here on a conversion rate is we're trying to get to a customer. From an awareness standpoint, you have social, you have podcasting, you have influencers, and you're trying to generate that awareness, that much bigger broadness of awareness. So they all have their place, right? Most of the people that I work with, it's literally dollar spent, dollar come back. What is the return on ad spend? If you want to focus on doing these kinds of things to generate awareness and like bigger, content focused, that's great. I mean, without a doubt, I think you have to do that. It's not me that's going to do that. Maybe you find somebody that from a local university that can come in and kind of generate that content, but it's content to stay in front of people to generate that awareness. From a podcast, from an influencer standpoint, influencers are interesting in the fact that they have an audience that you probably wouldn't get to unless you're out there. We have people that are listening here on the podcast every single week, and our numbers are growing, and so we're definitely, we've got a decent following. I can come on here and I can tell you all kinds of different products and all of those different things, and I can recommend things that I use. I could get paid for that, but we don't do that. Like we basically tell people right now that
It doesn't mean that he's closed down to that.
No.
But once we hit a certain level, that may happen.
But
So you're talking basically all of these organic social podcasting influencers, even SEO to some extent, are more at the top of the funnel.
right, exactly.
And so you, when they hire you, you're on the middle of the funnel more.
I am trying to get you results now, not 2 years from now.
So your attitude toward paid social, and just every once in a while he sends me an email. Look, man, 1.7. You know, I mean, you're into the numbers of it.
The
and
CPM that I sent
yes.
you, that was like $1 or something.
Yeah, it was like, okay, why don't you rub it in? We're at like 20, whatever. We're expensive, but the paid search is one of the things that you do, right?
Without a doubt. Paid search is, honestly, it works so well. And then
It's at 2.6% conversion rate.
well, that's search, social, right? So social, we've got this from the chart. It's a 1.5. I've seen upwards of 6, 7, 8%
On paid social.
On paid social, yeah. So there's definitely opportunity. I mean, again, they're building these platforms to use AI, and by the end of this year, all you got to do is upload information, and things going to take off. So, I mean, why not, right? So, when you understand these numbers, let's say we're at 1.5, which we've got here. When you put money out there and you send 100 people over, that 1.5 people are, so essentially you send 50 people over to your website, one person's going to buy.
So let's use our example. We do paid social, 100 people see it. We just want them to watch the game on Friday night. We're going to get 1.5 viewers out of that.
Yeah, essentially that's
That's pretty
If
simple.
that's your
You
conversion.
apply that to your business.
Yeah. So, when you think about that, if it costs me $5, which is astronomically high for this example, but let's say it costs me $5 to send 50 people over, and I sell one person every time they come over, or out of the 50, and I'm selling something for $40, and it costs me, let's say, $20 to get it. I'm making $20 off the sale. It cost me $5. So I've just put $5 out there, and I've received a lot more money back, right? So I say this example to a lot of people all the time. I'm like, give me $1, I'll give you $2 back. I'm like, okay. I go, do it again, do it again, do it again. I'm like, how long are you going to do that? And they're like, forever. I go, that's what we're talking about here. And if you put $1 into your own social or influencers or things like that, you're not going to get the same return immediately. So from a paid social, a paid search, yeah, I mean, some of it gets a little pricey over time. Like paid search can get really pricey depending on where you're at. But like I used to spend $1, I think at the top it was like $1.80 for a product that we were selling that was $50 for every click, because I knew my conversion rates, I knew all of this, right? So I could calculate it, and I knew exactly if it's converting at, mine were converting at roughly like 2.9, 2.8. I knew for every 50, 100 people that I got over, this is how much I was spending, this is what it should convert at, this is the average margin that I'm going to make off of that, so I'm profitable. So I just ran it over and over and over again, and people were like, you're spending thousands of dollars on advertising. How do you do that? I'm like, it comes back to me, right? Like the money is coming back. If I put $1 out there, I'm getting 1.5 back or 1.2 back or 1.8 back. So why wouldn't, like, it's investing. I'm putting $1,000 in and I'm getting $1,800 back. There's $800 in my back pocket because all I did was turn an ad on. So that's what we're talking about here is from a conversion rate standpoint, if you understand these numbers, you can actually do the math to make sense of it. You have going back, we both have this, investing in the markets and history and where we've worked and things we've done in the past. If you could take $1 today and make, get $1.80 back tomorrow, you would do it all day long. And that's really what I don't think people start to break down the conversion rates and really understand what's my margin, what's my conversion rate. Does this make sense? And again, I was having conversations yesterday where people are not getting that, right? They're spending $1 and they're getting 12 cents back. And I'm just like, what are you doing? Like, these are averages. This should be working. Something's wrong with your marketing. We need to look at this. And it's funny, like, well, I just assumed. Well, don't assume, because quite honestly, like, numbers don't change that much. You get these averages across different industries, and they're benchmarks for you to compare yourself against. So if you're looking at this and you're saying 1.5 or 2.3 or whatever it may be, it's great to understand that, because now you know where I should be on average. And if I'm underproducing there's an issue. If I'm overproducing, I'm obviously doing something really great, right? So just keep putting more and more money into this. But I would say 99% of small businesses that I talk to get scared. They're like, but what if? I'm like, but what if what? Like, it's producing. Scale it up until it doesn't work anymore, right? And, again, having a conversation about different keywords in paid search, there was one, it was a branded name, and we used to buy it. And I knew I could afford to buy that branded name up to it. It was like $1.82 or something like that. Once I hit $1.82, I shut the keyword off because I wasn't making money anymore, right? And that's not talking long-term value and what they'll come back and buy in the future, but I knew that one-time buy was breaking even. If I paid $1.82 for that keyword, I wasn't actually making any money on that. So what's the point in doing it? But there were a bunch of other keywords that I had much better margins on, so I'd scale those up as much as I could, all that other fun stuff.
So this is episode 77 of Mastering Local Marketing. We actually record these live on the radio here just south of Chicago, and 3.5 million people can hear it. So if you happen to stumble by, don't forget you can hear all the episodes on anywhere you get your podcast. You can also watch us live and watch us as a podcast on WJOB 1230. But mostly go to Apple and Spotify and listen in an audio manner. This one's been best conversion rates in digital marketing. Just to kind of sum up some of the stuff this is a recurring theme here. Organic social is the lowest, certainly. Podcasting, influencers, and just basically organic SEO also at about 0.4%. We'll cover that. But where Matt is a consultant is in applying to get the conversion rates, paid social, paid search, and certainly email. Email is one that is I think Matt has been pretty consistent, is consistently undervalued by companies in realizing the conversion rates. Right after this, we're going to go out and talk to our marketing team. They're going at email right now. And it was all because of this podcast and listening to it. And let's shift some money over there and see what happens. So any final comments?
Yeah, just keep in mind that, we're talking conversion rates today. So it's actions that bring in dollars. So we're not saying that organic social is bad.
Because you have to hit awareness.
Yeah,
you got to hit that segment.
We're saying that anything that is, organic social, podcasting, influencers, SEO, that's awareness based. So that's a long-term generation of awareness. What we're saying here is when you're talking about paid social, you're talking about paid search, and you're talking about email, those are to try and get the phones ringing, the buy button clicked, those types of things. So they all have their place, but today we were talking about conversion rates, so actually getting people to buy. So that's why you got such a discrepancy here, but we're not saying one is bad or one's, every single one of them has its own place.
Episode 77. Until next time, see you later.
This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. You chose to hit play on this podcast today. Smart choice. Make another smart choice with AutoQuote Explorer to compare rates from multiple car insurance companies all at once. Try it at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Not available in all states or situations. Prices vary based on how you buy.